Welcome to this edition of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang. I'm your host, Lia Chang. This spring, New York City welcomes a bountiful gathering of off-Broadway stage productions focusing on sisterhood, motherhood, and family. Roundabout's New York premiere of Alex Lin's Chinese Republicans, Second Stage Theater's world premiere of Aya Ogawa's Meat Suit, Jeena Yi's JESA, produced by Yi Theater Company and residents at the Public Theater, and Signature Theater's New York premiere of Lauren Yi's Mother Russia. This segment of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang features excerpts of my chat with Mother Russia playwright Lauren Yi, in addition to Asia Society New York's Evening with Alex Lin, Aya Ogawa, and Jeena Yi, in conversation with Extraordinary Aliens playwright Carolina Do, presented in association with the Asian American Arts Alliance.
See this wonderful crowd and storied women. What an incredible time here in New York City to have all these incredible Asian American playwrights sharing a range of stories, and all of them in some way or another have women in an important role. And they'll tell you a little bit more about it. But I just think it's such an important time, and I think it's not insignificant that this is not only Women's Month, but the start of spring, and when all is hopeful, and with the idea of spring, and in a time where things do seem dark, and let's acknowledge that this is a tough time. I think it's even more important that we get the stories out, that we have a way to create community, and in many ways that's what tonight is about. I want to thank Jeena Yi, who had the brilliant idea of bringing this all together, and Lisa Gold from the Asian American Arts Alliance. And as I said, creating community, I think, it's really at the heart of theater as well, because live theater is about an audience. It's not that there's anything wrong with film or television, but they're not the same. There could be, but that's a different program. I'm really thrilled. Thank you, Carolina Do, for being here, who has her own production, Extraordinary Aliens.
Thank you so much to Jeena Yi, Asia Society, and A4 for making this incredibly important and exciting talk happen. I wish I could be there so much to discuss, and talk about all the things with this amazing group of playwrights. It's really a historical moment. To me, this moment is about Asian American voices in all their complexities and layers and diversity getting a moment to shine. It means that we get to tell a wide range of stories that look different from each other. It shows that Asian America is not a monolith, and I'm so excited for this particular moment.
I don't think I knew it quite at the time, but when I started it in 2017, I'd really been on this kick of exploring communism in Asia in the 20th century and its collision with Western pop culture.
Okay.
That if it started with Cambodia in the 70s and rock music, continued on to China and basketball in the 80s.
Right.
Even without me realizing it, this was like a post-Soviet Russia in the 90s.
Trilogy.
In a way, like a strange sort, but also
the communist Asia, pop culture, arts-wise trilogy.
But very, very different, I think, in setup and tone.
Casting.
Yeah, and casting than Cambodian Rock Band or Great Leap, who have these two 25-year-old doofuses played by Adam Chandler Barat and Stephen Boyer, who play the friends Yevgeny and Dmitri. And they are spying on this at the time, Soviet dissident pop artist who's returned back in the early 90s named Katya, played by Rebecca Naomi Jones.
I'm such a fan of Rebecca.
It's called Chinese Republicans. It's about a group of 4 Chinese Republican women who work at a hedge fund in New York City, and they all meet monthly in their affinity group. There's not much affinity in this affinity group, though, and it culminates in them essentially fighting with each other and tearing each other apart to get to the top spot, right? And centers on this relationship between this mentor and this mentee that starts off very nice and genuine and fun and all the things that make us feel good about affinity groups, but slowly devolves into something far more fraught and sinister. So I've been told it starts as a comedy and ends as a tragedy. So have fun.
Japanese, but your last name is Park. You're both? That sounds complicated. We're like a little family. Mother, daughter, ancestor. You will live, think, and breathe perfection. Oh my god, the Mandarin is so bad.
I speak Cantonese, asshole.
Your minion is going to be late for your little cult. It's not a cult, Phyllis. It's an affinity group. Asian babes changing the game. Doesn't even rhyme. I feel bad for your generation. He's Wasian. What's Wasian? Half white, half Asian. There's a word for that now. In the 90s, we just called them hot. First, I can't hit my kids. Then I can't hit my dog. Now I can't hit my own damn computer. People are deranged.
The people with your kind of accent, there is a joke in China that you are stuck up, or gay, or both.
I've been your waiter for months.
He's been a white guy this whole time?
The moment you think the world is making progress is the moment you become outdated.
Katie, please, depression isn't real. There's 3 provinces in China right now. You can't. Meanwhile, if I want to stay here, I need to know how to find North Dakota. Who gives a fuck about North Dakota?
You know what Reagan's t-shirt in 84 said? Reagan, 84.
All of the greatest Republicans in America have been socialists. And my plan is to start a union. No. Welcome to another round of Where the hell am I? You're in your worst nightmare. I was born in China. Most people are born in China. You're the golden majority.
My play is called Meat Suit, or The Shit Show of Motherhood, and it is essentially exactly what it sounds like. I started writing this play before the pandemic in 2019, when I was just crawling out of early motherhood myself, and there was a lot of grief in motherhood for me. Just a lot of struggling with a loss of identity, of a loss of self, forced transformations of the self and relationships to everybody in my life. And also, about a year and a half into being a mother, I lost my mother. So there was a lot of me as I was going through motherhood that I was like, oh God, I wish I could talk to my mom about this. She's not here. So really, the play for me was an attempt to kind of build community of through motherhood laterally, and creating space for mother actors to bring their whole selves into the room, and for them to model a kind of compassion and holding for all the mothers and grandmothers in the audience. That was the intention of the play. As an experience, I think it is kind of like body horror comedy and tragedy at the same time. The play is paired with a very like a stylized performance form called bouffant, which is like a sort of mask, except the whole body is a mask, and it tracks the kind of the deformations of the body of motherhood, kind of emblematic of the psychic and emotional labor that mothers have to carry with them, and how they move around the body or move from person to person. And it has some songs. So it's kind of like a crazy circus of motherhood.
My play JESA is about 4 Korean American sisters in Orange County, California, and they gather to perform the Korean ceremony called JESA, which is a ceremony honoring your ancestors and honoring the dead. And they're meeting because they're doing it for both their parents who have now been gone. And they are estranged. They have grown up, even though they grew up in the same house together, they have grown up to be very different people. And it just follows them on this night in which they're doing JESA, and maybe there's a ghost, maybe there isn't. You'll have to come and see. But really it's a sort of about siblings, and how you stay family, as you grow into adulthood and life gets more complicated, and also sort of how do our parents haunt us in different ways. Maybe not literally, but just psychologically, emotionally, how do they kind of imprint themselves into our lives, and what are the things that we should keep and what are the things that we can let go of. So
And it's an auto-fictional play that's based on mine and my partner's journey through the immigration system. It follows a character who comes to America from Romania to be an actor, and finds out that this country is not very kind to immigrants at all, especially this industry, especially when you're on an O1 visa. And if anyone here is on an O1 visa, an OPT, do not let them take your humanity away from you. And so it follows this couple, it follows 3 different couples in various stages and levels of the immigration system, including an alien who comes from outer space, who is trying to understand what makes Earth so amazing. It's a rom-com, and we have like 5 performances left.
I always liked the arts. Like a good Asian, they made me go play piano and like go do ballet and stuff like that. So it was in a lot of musicals in high school. But then when I went to undergrad, I was like, no, let's do something serious, or like real job, stable job. And then promptly that changed, like when I did like a Shakespeare show at NYU, and I was like, I think I'm gonna change my major. I'm not gonna tell my parents. Not good Asian. And I kind of went back and forth about it for a while. I actually worked in the tech industry for like 6 years. But then during the pandemic, all of a sudden I had like a lot of free time, and I started writing, and I think I got very, very lucky that that's when I started writing. And I would have to say that like Che Yu did a lot for me in that period of time.
Who is
Che Yu is a diva. He is the legend. Like, he is like the Asian American theater, one of the capital T Asian American theater directors, artists, writers, like one of the very formative people in like recent Asian American theater history, and also just like from my career, seriously, I think I'd worked with him once as an actor, and he was always very generous. And then when I had started writing, he like reached out to me over Facebook Messenger. There's a generational difference. Can you tell? And then he emailed me from his AOL.com Gmail. Generational difference. Was like, hey, like send me your plays. I want to know what you're writing. And I did, and he said some very, very nice things to me, and then really, really kept believing in my work, and it is directing this show at Roundabout now. So
did you go to Juilliard for acting?
No.
Oh,
I went for writing. I went for writing, yeah. And I was doing that because it's kind of part-time when you're doing the playwriting program. It's really like 1 class a week. I was doing that while working my tech job. So like I stole time on my calendar. Like I would block it off on Google or like on Slack. I would be like, I'm away. This focus time. Focus time. Just like lying about what I was doing. But it paid, like lied more.
Block it off on Slack.
Yeah. But I was to say, like, I would have to, if I had to pick one person, I would say Che was like the most formative, and like this is like a very meaningful step or like full circle. I don't want to say full circle because I'm sure we'll work together again, but it's a meaningful moment in our artistic relationship with each other for sure. This show, 1000%.
I was probably around 13 years old when I started acting in high school. This is in Central California, and I just loved it so much. I mean, there was just nothing else like it. My parents were very concerned. Went behind my back to beg the drama teacher to stop casting me, which I learned many, many years later on. But you know, I would have, you know, kind of very heated arguments with my mother because she really didn't want me to go into the theater, and her reasoning behind it was that, you know, you're going to be playing maids and prostitutes for the rest of your life.
See, my mom said the same thing.
And I said to her, like, no, I'm not. I'm going to make my own theater. You know, which at the age of 17, like, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But I was very determined. I came to New York to go to college, and then as soon as I graduated from college, I started auditioning, and I think I lasted 2 weeks because the roles that were available to me were literally called Sexy Dragon Lady and Nepalese Woman Number 2 and things like that. And, you know, I was like, if I'm gonna be poor, if I'm gonna be a poor artist anyway, I would rather do that on my own terms, making work that is important to me, rather than, you know, play these roles that like clearly nobody cares about. And so that's basically how I came to that. Then I joined a theater company where I was writing and directing and devising and designing and writing press releases and learning how to produce. That was kind of my grad school self-education in a way. And then, yeah, when I left that company in 2003, that's when I really started focusing on, you know, primarily my own like self-generated devised work, which I would direct also. And so for me, it was all out of necessity, right? Like if there had been plenty of roles for me to audition for and tons of acting opportunities, I probably would have just been an actor. I was very happy to be an actor. But I felt like I had no choice but to create plays and to direct those plays and to produce those plays. And so that's how I've kind of carved out my career.
I was similar to you, Alex, where I didn't think that I would be in the arts because I never really, it hadn't entered my mind that it was an option. Even though I loved movies, my dad took us to the movies every week, and I spent all my weekends at the library. I was just always just consuming books and watching TV and going to the movies, and you know. But I hadn't seen live theater until I was in high school when Kelly Clapp, that's her name. She's asked if I wanted to take her brother's ticket because her dad had season tickets to the Amundsen in Los Angeles. I grew up in LA, and so I said, sure, okay, I'll go, because her brother was, you know, too cool, and so didn't want to go. And so I saw I think it was, it might have been Les Mis, actually. I might have been in middle school, actually, but that might have been the first time I actually saw live theater, and that was when I was like, I just didn't realize it existed. And so just so you know, there's swaths of people in America who've never seen live theater, and I was one of them, and I never would have unless Kelly Clapp decided to ask me to take her brother's ticket. And I remember after that I said, if your brother ever doesn't want to go again, can I go with you? And they did. So I got to see Leah Salong and Flower Drum Song before it came to Broadway. And I remember that was really transformative for me too, because then it was like, these aren't white people, these are Asians, and they're all Asian, and they're singing and they're dancing, and I was just, so that was something where, so that's when it first entered, but it still didn't seem like a career option to me. I went to UC Berkeley. I was like convinced. I was basically one of your characters in Chinese Republicans. I was like, I'm gonna work at a hedge fund, you know? And so I went to UC Berkeley thinking I'm gonna go to Haas, you know, this is what's gonna happen. I took the first business class that you're supposed to take, intro, business. And I looked around and I thought, if I have to spend the next 4 years with these people, no. And so I pivoted, and then I became a landscape architecture major. So I did that all 4 years. But then the thing that actually got me to really take the leap after I graduated college was there was a club on campus called Theater Rice. I know it's not a great name. They thought of the name in the 90s. It was fine then, and then by the time, anyway. Okay, so, but it was an Asian American theater club, and the motto was Asians on stage by any means necessary. And we wrote sketch comedy, we did improv, we would, sometimes bring in a scene or something, and we would rehearse, we made up like 30 clubs so that we can reserve a classroom twice a week, every week, all semester. And then we reserved one of the bigger lecture auditoriums to put on shows every semester. And we did that. And I went to Berkeley, there's a lot of Asians. So we always had sold out shows, and it was really fun, and it was for our community. And that was the first time I was really performing, and that's where I realized, I was like, actually, I really do want to do this. And so when I graduated college, I'm from LA, so I was like, well, that's where they all are, So I told my parents, I'm not going to be a landscape architect. I'm going to go move back in with you and try to be an actor. And shockingly, my dad responded in a way that I still to this day, I'm like, you really got to talk to your parents. Because he looked at me, he was quiet, and he was like, well, if you've been wanting to act, why didn't you go to college for acting?
Oh my God.
And I looked, I was like, well, I thought, and he's like, you just kind of wasted 4 years. Why don't you just tell us? And then you could have done that. And I was like, I was like, society? I don't know, and so I they were still concerned because they were like, I don't know what you're gonna. They thought maybe I think they thought maybe I'd give it up, and I struggled, and I didn't book anything really in LA. I spent like 4 years. Like again, it was like I started a few years later, so there was some progress since you joined when you started acting, and then when I started, but it was still not great. I did like The Importance of Being Earnest in like a weird strip mall in North Hollywood. But the thing is that the thing that I knew after a couple of years that I knew that I wanted to do this was because despite the fact that I was doing theater in a strip mall in North Hollywood, I was really happy. And I was like, I was not successful, and I still wanted to do it. And actually that was the thing for me that was like, oh, you really love this. Like, you will drive 2.5 hours to La Cañada Flint Ridge to do some crappy show because the part was good. So I was like, oh, you really do love this. So then I applied to grad school, got in Columbia, and that's where I think I had 2 professors there that I think were really inspiring for me. It was Kristen Linklater, who was a voice teacher, rest in peace, and Ulla Volz. And they both were these incredible women who, one, they saw me. That was the biggest thing, I think, is that because all that time in LA, you just, especially as your life as an actor, it's like you're just trying to get seen, and nobody saw me. Like, nobody gave a shit. And so, but the 2 of them, they saw me, and Ulla, I could still hear her voice. Like, I would pick like smaller roles to work on in class, And she would be like, why? Jeena, no, you are a powerhouse, you know? So she would tell me, like, no, you need to be doing this, and she's like, Clytemnestra, and like, you know, things like that. And so she was the one who was like, she saw me, and I was like, it opened a world for me, and then that, you know, led to my career as an actor, and I did a lot of new plays. I've done so many workshops of new plays, and I think that was my schooling to make me then take that transitional leap into playwriting.
That you included, what was it?
I don't want to spoil it. Should I just say it?
Say it.
Say it. Money won't make you white. It's something I actually said to my mom when I was 17. But perhaps it's because my experience as a mixed race person, I just knew you are or you aren't. And no amount of money was gonna change the way that I saw people treat my mom before she opened her mouth, and they realized that she could speak English, and they realized that she was from here, like literally from here, born here, from New Jersey. And I just said it, and she got so mad. And I think she got really, really mad because she knew I was right, and she couldn't actually say anything like logical against it, so she just started cursing at me. And that was like, that you saw the play, that's basically what happened with me and my mom when I was 17 at our kitchen table. I said, money won't make you white, Mom. And then she just started yelling.
I'm assuming your mom has seen this show.
Yeah, she loves it. It's so weird. She like doesn't remember.
She's like, remember when?
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't remember. She doesn't. My two best friends from high school also came to the show, and so they've seen Jean is her name. They've seen Jean from the origin of Jean. And apparently my mom leaned over to one of my very good friends, Tamara, from high school. We know each other 15 years. She says, Tamara, I just don't. Where does she get these ideas? Where does she come up with these things? When my friend Tamara had to come up to me, he was like, you would not believe what your mom just said.
The kind of dynamism of this evening, because it doesn't feel like it's just a group of people here and another group. I feel like there's something already organic that's happening between people. So thank you for your generosity, for being here, being together, creating this work, and take a moment and say hello, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you for joining me for this edition of Backstage Pass with Lia Chang. Until next time.